afternoon. Sherman D. Manning joining you live from Los Angeles, California. I am glad to be here with you today. How do you like America's Russian president, Donald Vladimir Putin Trump? Do you like him? We'll be discussing him in a moment. Briefly, let's talk about my book, The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. This book is about the no J's and not just about O.J. It is about a criminal justice system that is racist, biased, and riddled with inconsistencies. Once you become a part of this criminal justice system, and it is criminal, but there's no justice for the poor or even the middle class. Once you become a part of that system, it's like they have you by the neck or they have you by the testicles forever. If you're on parole, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm talking from empirical data, all someone needs to do is call and say that you threatened them, and they will lock you up. And then when they lock you up, if you have been texting back and forth with this person, even though there are no threats there, people who are technologically savvy can put a penis or vagina photo in the line of text and then claim that you sent it to them, and you will get what's called computer use for sexual activity. And so this is a penis or a vagina that you've never seen in your lifetime. Have no clue what this is all about. And this person who was able to put it in the line of text will send you back to jail on a violation. And trust me when I tell you that when you stand before the judge as a parolee, you have no credibility whatsoever. And they will violate you and make you look like, hey, we told you all along he or she was sick, and this is just what sick parolees do. There is no benefit of doubt. There is no innocent until proven guilty. It is a system that is evil. It can even turn counselors who used to believe in you against you. I'm telling you what I know, which is why everywhere I go, I tell people we have got to get together and fight to make the system just and to make the system fair, because currently it is not just and it is not fair. Not unless you are a multi-millionaire. A multimillionaire has 9 levels of appeal. He will probably never see the inside of a jail cell, because first and foremost, he's going to make bail. Okay? And then even if this multimillionaire is convicted of a crime, which he probably won't be, he can even get an appellate bail. You understand? There are all kinds of things that rich folk get in the so-called justice system that poor people cannot get because they cannot afford to get these things. And it fascinates me that as fair as this country is, how unfair and unequal the justice we render and mete out on a daily basis is to our citizens of color and to our citizens who are living in poverty. We need to do something about this justice system so that poor people don't have to just depend upon some public pretender. But a public defender would be nice. But we call those guys dump trucks because it's just a revolving door. They don't fight the cases. They don't even read the cases, quite frankly. And if you don't read the case, how can you fight a case that you have not even read? And it bothers me. And I am awestruck by the inequities that still remain in America's criminal justice system. And I will repeat, it is a criminal system, but there's no justice for the poor. And we need to do something about it right now. We need to do something about it with deliberate speed. It is a criminal system that is criminal to the poor, but not just. It is not just. Let's fight. One of the things we need to do is bring preachers together. And I'm supposed to be at the Baptist Ministers Conference right now, which I normally attend on Mondays, but I got delayed. And I don't really like going there, to be quite frank with you, because preachers get on my nerves. We're supposed to love people. We're supposed to be the ones fighting for the poor, the left out, the locked out, the forgotten about. But it's very difficult to get preachers together and to get us to fight for anything other than raising an offering. It's difficult. Preachers get on my nerves, but we should be fighting this. We should be fighting because most of us have a member or two who has gone to prison or has been in prison or just got out, whatever the case might be. And if anybody knows anything about prisons, it's you and me. We should be fighting this. Pastors should be involved in the justice system, trying to get justice for our people. What do you think? We should be fighting. We should be working to make this system better. This is supposed to be a system for all people, not just a system that protects the wealthy. Come on, somebody, talk to me now. And for those of you counselors, okay, like Mr. Williams, for whom I have respect, you guys should be saying something. Contact the media anonymously and start telling them what happens to these guys who are in prisons, how bad they're treated, how vicious and malicious the guards are to them. I was in the system, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm here to tell you that if you think prisons are a solution to anything, I have a pink elephant that flies upside down backwards that I'll deliver to your house by 3 o'clock today. If you think that prisons solve anything, I have a Lear jet that travels 700 miles per hour, 700 knots, I guess they would call it, that I'm going to sell you tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock for $5. Get out of my face. The prison system is criminal. Most of the guys who work in the prison systems are criminals. The only difference in them and the criminals that they guard is that the guards have not been caught in their criminality at this juncture. They're thugs. In the California prison system, we have what's called the Green Wall, or 723. I'll talk about that some other time. You want to know this stuff? Read my book, The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. I talk about it. I elucidate these issues in that book, as well as in my book, Creating Monsters, as well as in my book, American Dream, A Search for Justice. Get all three of those books on Amazon.com. But yes, the system is criminal. I watched guards, ladies and gentlemen, murder inmates before my very eyes. Sergeant Joseph Stratton, New Folsom State Prison. Knowing the system, they probably promoted him to lieutenant by now. Sergeant, what is this woman's name? I'm trying to think of her name. Lord have mercy, it's escaping my memory at the moment. It's a female sergeant. White lady, can't get her name at the moment. And CO Winker, Daniel Patrick Winker, who was finally fired. He's probably been rehired by now because that's what they do. They fire them. They rarely fire them, but when they do fire them, their union gets their job back. And the union is indeed a thug union. It is a union for thugs. And it is known, it is notorious for getting fired guards rehired and back pay. There have been guys who were fired and stayed gone for 16 to 17 months and got another job, of course, and survived for those 16 or 17 months. And then they'll get their job back and get a lump sum payment for all 16 months that they were gone. This is wrong. Sergeant Vogel watched him murder a man. Sergeant Stratton, Daniel Patrick Winker, the female sergeant whose name escapes me at the moment, watched them murder a man, pepper sprayed him to death. The man told him he couldn't breathe. He was in a cage. He was already in handcuffs. He was already in what's called a spit mask. And they got angry with him, and they murdered him. They murdered him. They pepper sprayed him to death, denied him medical attention, and he died. And they were cleared. Sergeant Vogel, V-O-G-E-L, at Corcoran State Prison, a murderer. Jimmy McCartney, New Folsom State Prison, murdering, lying, conniving, thieving, corrupted devil. Officer Siddiqui, the female, a devil. Officer Rowe, R-O-W-E, McCartney's partner, a devil. A two-timing undercover Klansman married to a black woman, racist. Well, I can tell you about that. Somebody told me I should be going across this country giving speeches all over about the stuff that I saw inside those prisons. Those are some dark, evil, wicked places. Those are some thieving, conniving, murderous places. And a guy like Donald Trump, our Russian American president, has no problem with you killing an inmate. He has no problem with the thug union, the Green Wall, that's what we call that game, doing what they do to inmates. And it's guys like him that cover for them and that give them license to kill, to steal, to pillage the poor inmates who are there. Something very unnatural about putting men and women in cages. And there's also something very unnatural about being the persons who guard the men and women in cages. And there are psychological steps that prison guards take and make in order to make themselves be able to sleep at night after putting men in cages. And it is often these steps that they take that cause them to denigrate the humanity of the person over which they are guarding. They become rulers. They become callous and careless. And some of these prison guards are deacons in their churches, like D.L. Kreiner, who was at Pleasant Valley State Prison. I'm sure Kreiner is now retired. D.L. Kreiner, C-R-I-N-E-R, a big, tall, bald-headed, dark-skinned black joker who went to church every Sunday and would kill an inmate on Monday, rolling with racist Klans, guys who wouldn't even let him come through their neighborhood at night. That would always fascinate me about Kreiner. He would be hanging out with guys like Wally Tucker, a Klansman, hanging out with these guys, knowing that if he came through their neighborhood at night, they would lynch him. They would murder him and swear he was trying to rape a white woman. But he hung out with these guys. CDC is an interesting phenomenon. If I wrote a book a week for the next 5 years, I still could not tell all the stories that I experienced at CDC, the California Department of Corruption. I was there with Charles Manson. I know that devil personally. I was there with Eric and Lyle Menendez. I know both of those devils personally. I've got stories about each one of them. If you want to read those stories, get a copy of The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice on Amazon.com, and you'll see what I'm saying. In the meantime and in between time, ladies and gentlemen,